Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in a cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz, you may have noticed that after football Sundays for a few months right now, a lot of people have crawled into the space between the games are over and 9 a.m. Eastern. Shannon Sharp is there with Ocho. The Pardon My Take and Bill Simmons podcast come out on Sunday night, West Coast time. Football here, there are a lot of people to be grabbed this morning, and God Bless Football gets in early, tries to get in so early that they compete against Good Morning Football, which is 7 a.m. It's hard to compete with. But today I'm told, because Austin Eckler is going to be available, I am told that God Bless Football has not come out yet, and now we are getting, and it's been a while since we got these, Stugotz's original takes are going to appear here first on this show instead of his property with Billy God Bless Football. We are going to get his football maximum takes.
And Billy's takes. I mean, we gave the takes, we just haven't released the takes yet. That's the deal.
Well, no, but also you can control repeating the same things. Like, it's 100% within your control. Like, I will not repeat the same things.
Right.
But Dan, you'd agree, the decision was made that Austin Eckler, we're going to talk to him today. We're going to release it today. We're not going to sit on that until Friday. It doesn't make any sense.
That's correct. Brandon Staley has been fired, relieved, I think, at this point, right? Not just relieved as a verb, but relieved I can go home now. Stop bothering me with this.
Not just relieved from his duties, you're saying.
That's
just,
right.
There's relief in this?
Oh, my God.
He wants to be a head coach. There's no relief, just embarrassment.
That's fine. He does want to be a head coach, but not for these last 3 games. There's no point. Like Zach Wilson yesterday, he gets a concussion. Was it worth it? No. He was reluctant to play. He should have been. That's why. He didn't need the brain damage in pursuit of that.
Right.
But we'll get to the Jets in a second. Okay. What I want to know about what is happening with Billy and you and God Bless Football is there a device that, Billy, you can alert me when he's giving a recycled take that will now appear on a dated God Bless Football, but a take that hasn't come out yet? So he'd be giving it here first, but then you'd hear it again on God Bless Football. Stugotz loves to recycle and reheat stuff.
We're fairly safe today, I think, unless you want to play a game of If the Season Ended Today, in which we break down the playoff matchups as they stand today.
It was great.
No, thank you.
I mean, Dan, Bengals Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
That's a big one.
Who wins, huh?
If the season ended today.
Is it Dolphins Colts?
But here's the twist on our
the Dolphins.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Here's our twist on If the Season Ended Today, Dan. The health also ends today.
Yes.
So we don't know if Tyreek is going to be good to play in the playoffs because the season ended today. See? That's the twist.
Okay, and so because Stugotz is good at mailing it in and loves to recycle and reheat and told us last week, and I didn't know this was possible, he just said, well, yeah, I just only got so many takes. And I can't, so I got to repeat some of them. I got to get them out multiple times because I'm out of material, basically.
Yeah.
And I asked Jessica and Billy when you walked in today if this was the 8th straight month of consecutive days that you have worn that same outfit.
On a Monday?
Just in general.
I've worn this sweatshirt
every day.
1 to 2 times per week for the last, I want to say, 12 to 15 weeks. Yeah.
You also come here 1 to 2 times a week.
Wow. Yeah, well, I come here 3 times a week, 4 times a week now because of Fridays. So I have a rotation of 4 different Travis Matthew sweatshirts that I'll continue to wear until someone in sales picks up on the fact that I like Travis Matthew. I like their hats. I like their sweatshirts. I want to get a deal done with them, and no one in sales is taking the hits.
Hey, Feldman, let's go.
Thank you.
Come on, Feldman.
I'll take them off after we get the deal done.
Wait, why would you do that?
That's a good point. I don't know.
If in Travis Matthews' defense, you're doing the advertising for them for free, why would they give you any money?
All right. So stop wearing it.
This is my point. My overall point is Stugotz is a take machine. He's running out of takes. We got to squeeze.
Running out of sweatshirts.
We got to squeeze the rest of what's left out of it. He doesn't have that much more interest. The Jets have broken him. He went to a football game yesterday. He comes in bragging.
Yeah.
I went to a football game yesterday and realized why I don't go to football games.
I got to tell you, though, Hard Rock Stadium, I have not been there since I can't even remember the last time it was. It's gorgeous, Dan.
Yes.
It really is. They have enhanced that stadium. It was nice. We sat on the Dolphins sideline. There is a definite advantage to sitting on that sideline as opposed to the road team sideline because it's really sunny on that sideline. So the stadium is beautiful. Mike has told me it's beautiful. The enhancements are great. The food was delightful. Here's the problem. I'm stuck watching the Jets. When I watch at home and the Jets are down 30-0 and they're not getting the ball over midfield until the third quarter, I could switch off from the game. When I'm at the game, I'm stuck watching the Jets.
Well, let's talk about this for a second because the Jets were mathematically eliminated. What I'm about to say is fairly shocking, right? The Patriots gave up the division, and it looks like December is going to give us a hell of a game, Buffalo-Miami, at the end of the season for, like, a lot of important things. And Buffalo's scary. And Buffalo's gone from a 15% chance of making the playoffs, according to the New York Times model, to, before beating Dallas, 49% chance of making the playoffs.
How about New York Times? Stay out of sports. Don't need it from the New York Times.
Well, they did literally close their sports desk earlier this year.
Keep your models also. We don't need it.
And gave the jobs to non-union employees.
You know, we had a thing, and I thought about you this weekend, Jess, in where SI wrote an article where they were quoting something Peter King said on God Bless Football, and I legitimately was wondering if this was like an AI article that is somehow like now taking content from podcasts and crediting, which I thought was great, but it did make me wonder, did a person actually write this?
It's a good question. There was a big shakeup at the top of Sports Illustrated last week. They have a new person operating allegedly a person.
Allegedly a person running the vitamin company.
And it does seem like two people, I don't think this was because of the AI thing, but two people at the top of the company are now no longer at the company. But I think questions will persist whether robots are writing articles because that's what you do to yourself when you have robots write articles.
Peter King and Billy are going to be washing dishes against each other coming up.
In January, he made he said anytime you want, and then we said next week, and he said it can't.
Well, but I said
playoff dishes.
I said that you had to tell Peter King. Peter King is an icon, a legend. It's fairly amazing to see Peter King outlast Sports Illustrated as a brand, as still one of these information insiders from a different time. His information is great. His contacts are great. And Billy the Duke is coming for what Peter King has always been and always had. He's coming to be the king, and they're going to wash dishes against each other. But Billy said before the show, Billy, what can I reveal here? Because you're saying you're playing the long game. Well, you have said of Peter King, game close to passing him by.
Who said that? I didn't say that.
No, because
I didn't. We have dishes to wash, not against each other, mind you, with each other, separate but with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not a competition. We're not seeing who can wash the dishes the fastest. Here's the thing:
is one washing, one drying, that kind of thing?
This is what happened. No, we just
so two sinks.
We started. Yeah, he's gonna have his sink, and I'm gonna have my sink.
Oh,
he's
over
gonna be
Zoom.
in his kitchen. I will be in mine. Yeah, because here's the thing:
it loses a little something.
No, it won't lose anything. I'm telling you. You're gonna see that me and him have almost identical kitchens. That's what we figured out when we were talking to each other. We just started talking. You know what happens when sometimes people just talk? They get to know each other, and you just realize, you know what? That's what, honestly, guys, this is what the world needs. We just need to talk to each other more, and you're going to see the person right next to you, the person in front of you, the person on the Zoom across from you, they have more in common with you than you actually think. And if we could just set aside the differences that we have and focus on the things we have in common, the world would be a wonderful place. And that's what happened with Peter King and I when we were talking, and he said he didn't realize he was on a podcast at the moment. We were just talking about how we like to wash dishes. He said he likes to fold clothes. He says he likes to make his bed, which I think is a total waste of time. But I'm not focusing on that difference. I'm focusing on our commonalities. And the two of us both enjoy washing dishes.
I want you guys like swaying next to each other as like you pass over the dish to dry, like a married couple would.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is making your bed a total waste of time at Le Batard Show?
So did he ever say anything bad about Peter King in the past? Or?
No.
Yes.
Never.
This is the thing, okay? He
Not
says
on
he's
record.
playing the long game because the long game ends with that's the victory. They wash dishes together, and he's protecting that because God bless football is compromised, biased.
How
not,
dare
not
you,
a journalist.
sir?
What are you
Well,
talking
listen,
dare
about?
you,
listen,
sir?
Not a journalistic entity.
What do you mean?
But yet you keep getting rewarded for it with international acclaim that makes you surpass Peter King, according to the Guardian's rankings, on being a football expert. You are scared of the Bills. Don't lie to me. We are trying around here, Stugotz.
He dropped the dookie.
Scared.
We are trying to do a new kind of journalism.
Yeah.
Billy wants to be the modern version of what Peter King is. Hey,
I do?
the modern version. And Mike is a genuine insider. He knows what's going on in the portal. He is in the business of it.
I
And
just want to do dishes, man.
Mike Ryan, I want 90 seconds of good insider information from new media. You're a booster. You're also a businessman. You're an information person.
And we're compromised?
Well, he's another one, another compromised journalistic entity. Some might call it evolution. I call it totally biased.
I am not a journalist either. I'm just a member of the media, but I am not a journalist.
However, your information is very good. And Lucy and Jessica have been inside of the business, understanding what's happening in the portal. I've been learning because you have to understand, I'm watching a business change in front of me. It's disorienting. Like, I don't understand. What do you mean quarterbacks are now $2 and $3 million? Or like, where are the numbers? I can't believe that we're making it this overt, where Desmond Ridder is paid less than some of the better quarterbacks who teams are now fighting for, because what a great investment, Stugotz. I can fill my stadium. Carolina Panthers can't fill their stadium right now. I can fill my stadium if I just give a quarterback $2 million.
Well, and also, if I can get other people to give a quarterback $2 million, because you get the benefits of filling your stadium, you get that TV contract, and someone else pays for the labor. So the injustice is still around. You talk about transparency and how this is a business now. And several days ago, Matt Rule addressed media, and he was asked directly, because they've been in the market for a quarterback, about what is this quarterback market?
Make no mistake that a good quarterback in the portal costs $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million right now. So just on the same page, right? So let's make sure we all understand what's happening. So there's some teams that have $6 or $7 million players playing for them.
That's accurate. That's right around what the marketplace is for a quarterback. And as you mentioned, guys like Damian Ridder and Brock Purdy. Yeah, there are several college football quarterbacks that are making more money than starting NFL quarterbacks these days. I don't necessarily think that's right, but that's the marketplace that we're in right now.
Matt Rule, didn't Nebraska just get a giant recruit? What's that backstory?
Raiola, yeah, they flipped him from Dylan Raiola was the nation's #1 quarterback commit. He hasn't flipped, but he got what is in recruiting terms called the crystal ball, which is, apropos for our head coach, but a crystal ball projection that he's going to Nebraska, and those are fairly strong in that industry. So in this game, Matt Rule in 1 year has aligned his resources and been able to flip a 5-star quarterback from the present 2-time defending national champion. That is a sea change, and it shows you that Nebraska will have the resources to compete, and they are in the Big Ten presently with a huge, juicy TV deal, and that is their economy. So they're investing in their economy, and that's a pretty big step for Nebraska.
I know it's weird, Dan, to have college quarterbacks making more than some NFL quarterbacks. It's weird. It's going to take a minute to get used to it, but I'm okay with it from this standpoint. You have teams or programs like Syracuse who never had a chance at getting a kid like Kyle McCord, the Ohio State quarterback, And now, because Ohio State has 3 or 4 good quarterbacks and they have new ones coming in every year, McCord thinks he's not going to play. Syracuse has the money to get McCord, and now Kyle McCord is the Syracuse quarterback. It's more opportunity for more programs.
And Van Dyke is now at Wisconsin, and you're going to have to win in the margin some with this, because this is such a sea change, Stugotz. Nebraska doesn't have any preordained right to be great at football, but they built it like Lincoln, Nebraska is a place because Cornhusker football was winning championships at a time in America where the business was hidden. And Tom Osborne can rule the earth, beating Barry Switzer in the option offense. And now Nebraska has to evolve into this modern version. They hired Scott Frost, Stugotz. They were going to do it with, hey, let's get the hot new coach. Oh, never mind. The whole business has changed. Now let's go get the failed pro coach from Carolina, and he's going to tell everybody, hey, if you want me to actually be good at this, I need more money. And they're all panhandling. They're panhandling to make their programs better.
I mean, the panhandling is a great point, because there have been coaches with varying results, right? Lane Kiffin for the last 3 years has taken the opportunity every time to basically fundraise and say, we need more to compete here. Dave Doran, the NC State head coach, they were about to be talent rated. NC State has totally turned their season around. He sounded the klaxon. We need to keep our guys. We need people to compete in NIL, and they kept a wide receiver in Concepcion that a lot of teams were in on, and they got a quarterback from Coastal Carolina that they beat out UCF for. So this is basically politics. It's fundraising in that sense, and Matt Rule's doing a pretty good job of it so far.
What I like about it is that this year, if you look at the 3 quarterbacks that were invited to the Heisman ceremony, they were all transfers who had a more or less like a tough time with their first choices. Like Bo Nix had a really tough time at Auburn, was not a great player, transfers to Oregon, ends up putting up insane numbers and does really well, becomes a Heisman finalist. Same with Michael Penix, same with Jaden Daniels, had a really tough go of it at Arizona State, like we've talked about before. And so there's opportunities for players. Maybe you made the wrong choice, or it wasn't the right fit for you at whatever school you ended up going to, but then you transfer and you end up in the right situation with the right coach and the right team for you, and you have an opportunity to have a little bit of a second chance in your career. Going back to Raiola for a second, this went viral on Message Board Geniuses on Twitter. Great account. They rake through all the college football message boards and find the most just unhinged posts.
It's been a lot of FSU lately.
That's true. And this was after Dylan Raiola was rumored to be thinking of flipping to Nebraska. The header of this post from the Dogs HQ message board is, does anyone here work at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport? And then the post says, it's being reported that Raiola will visit Nebraska on Friday. I assume that he'll take the 2:21 p.m. Delta flight, which is also the last flight of the day to the state. Therefore, if this flight gets canceled, he likely won't be able to make the trip and will stay committed to UGA. Obviously, messing with commercial flights is a slippery slope, so I'm not suggesting that anybody does anything illegal. But does anyone here work for Delta? If some loyal UGA pilots or flight attendants call in sick at the last minute, the flight could be canceled and we could keep Raiola. Maybe someone working could hold the flight up for maintenance issues. At the very least, he could, quote, lose his checked bags, so you'd have to experience the Nebraska winter without
Not
a
suggesting
jacket.
that.
I'm just spitballing ideas, but if anyone has anything else, those would also be appreciated.
All right, let me take a step back here, Stugotz, on how it is that we're covering this stuff, because she just brought up a lot of things there, and I want to get to Mike giving us the latest information on what it is that's happening at the University of Miami, where they need to get a quarterback, and it seems like they've got an all-or-nothing plan. And Stugotz, when I look at what is happening in that sport, kids get to the wrong fit, whether it's Bo Nix. I thought it was the right fit. Like, it was, it was a beautiful story.
His dad played there.
It was a beautiful story.
Right, yeah.
And now they have more freedom and more options. And so the sport is hard to play. The position is hard to play. They arrive as kids, and the 3 Heisman finalists had to find a new place where they learned and got more reps outside of Indiana, out going to other cities, playing bigger football, using the pipeline to the way it's supposed to be used. Minor league business that gets you to the pros. It's great that they have those options. It's wonderful that they have those options. But the whole thing is changing, where we're paying kids who are 17 or 18 years old $2 million and changing their life instantaneously. coming out of high school, and we're covering it like we used to do we're all now the recruiting letters, because this is a bigger thing and we care so much about Saturdays. We're all Tom Lemmings now, and we're more and more comfortable going younger and younger into the pipeline, where you're paying kids and changing lives and bringing to these lives some unscrupulous behavior, Stugotz, because Mike's got information here on what a school is doing to make sure that it can get the kids and win in the margins if they don't have the money, the kind of places you have to do shady business.
Yeah, I would like to say, and I know that you know this, Dan, but many in our audience who are just listening to your take may feel like you're conflating NIL with shady business practices in college football. No, those have always been around. There's a bit more transparency now, and in terms of the people providing resources, that net is wider. And so in some respects, loose lips sink ships, and other universities that had these tight circles where things could stay within the circle have had to expand their circles. And then you get more things like message board geniuses over there. But for example, I know where you were leading me to. There's an SEC power that one of their moves, if they're recruiting a kid, is occasionally they might enforce some influence in the penal system and see how they can help out a relative that might be behind bars. And that is a move that is old. That is not some new thing that NIL has brought forth. The marketplace does need a market correction. We're going to get to some sound from Chip Kelly, who's a really bright guy, and he has some thoughts about where college football should head. I'm very curious to get your thoughts on it, because I think this is the closest thing to a good solution that I've heard, and it's coming from someone that had to move to the Big Ten to compete. But since this is still technically the local hour, let's briefly talk about Miami's chase right now, which is extended well beyond several deadlines that they have instituted. They had both Will Howard and Cam Ward on campus last week. Can
I stop you? I'd like bells and whistles on this, because this seems like it's coming here hot and heavy. Stugotz, I'm telling you, Miami has in Mike Ryan an insider, unlike the Barry Jacksons and the Scoop Slaters. Mike is inside this machine. Can we make this? This is big news. Mike Ryan has the latest in recruiting information. That's not.
Yeah,
that's,
I mean,
he wanted bells and whistles, though.
Yeah, well, you got this.
Well, what is that?
And if you're in the know, there's a lot of great reporters that follow Miami, so a lot of this stuff is public knowledge, such as the visits from Will Howard and Cam Ward. Where we are is Miami had a Thursday at 3:00 deadline. And as week unfolded, that actually got shifted up to Wednesday, and now it's still the word was Cam Ward wanted to make a decision yesterday. That still hasn't happened, and I can tell you, genuinely, I have no idea who Miami's quarterback is going to be. If I had to guess, I'd venture a guess, but they could have had Will Howard, the Kansas State quarterback. They could have had him. And they would tell people last week that there really isn't a difference between these two quarterbacks. They rate them both. But Will Howard was ready to commit then and there. So if there was no difference, then why not just take the commitment from Will Howard? Seems to me like there is internally a bit of a difference in how they rate Cam Ward and Will Howard.
Whoop, whoop.
The evolution on it is, it appears, since a 5-star quarterback that is presently on USC's roster has entered the portal, that'd be a pretty big indicator that a new talent is coming in. And the most recent reports have Will Howard going to USC.
Ooh.
So where Miami stands in right now with Cam Ward is Cam Ward, unless there's a mystery school out there, and I guess you could throw Ohio State in the mix, even though I haven't heard anything with regards to them and Cam Ward, is the decision for Cam Ward is Miami or FSU. That is not news.
What is Miami's backup plan, Mike?
Miami's backup plan was Will Howard, and that's gone to USC. What? So I guess a name that has been bounced around has been KJ Jefferson, or you just retain your guys and you develop them, or maybe just wait till the spring.
I liked him. I liked KJ Jefferson.
I liked him outside of Dan Enos.
From Arkansas? He's been there for 10 years.
Okay, who cares?
I mean, I liked him outside of Dan Enos' offense, but that where Miami stands right now is they're in a recruiting. Well, it used to be called the recruiting battle. Now it's in negotiation with Cam Ward and his reps, and it's been reported on what he is looking for there. Ironically enough, even though Miami is reputed to be this big NIL school, when it comes to that position, Florida State is as competitive as anyone in the nation, and you have a school in Florida State that desperately needs a win because players are jettisoning left and right. So it'll be a great battle.
News and information supported by Chris Cody's ad-lib genius.
All right, I want to toss to this Chip Kelly sound and video that we teased before because I think it's a pretty good solution with where things are headed because it's pretty wild right now. And it's been dubbed the Wild West by head coaches in front of microphones who used to have an honor amongst thieves about them. And they're just openly saying, yeah, this is a bit crazy. And a lot of coaches are telling you by staying in the pros or leaving. Like Joe Brady was a hot name in college football circles. That guy could have had plenty of head coaching jobs. He wanted to be a quarterbacks coach at Carolina, and he's now presently turning around the Buffalo Bills as their OC. There is really no big-time rewards outside of money when it comes to college football coaching. But Chip Kelly has seen the lay of the land. He's seen a lot of other coaches take his style and improve on it, and he's a pretty good savvy veteran of the game, and he's watched all this happen, and he has a couple of possible solutions.
What is the biggest issue that you might have right now, whether it be realignment, NIL, transfer portal, and what would your plan maybe be to try to solve it?
I think they're all a problem, and I think we need to have a conference commissioner. I think football should be separate from the other sports. Just the fact that our school is leaving to go to the Big Ten in football, our softball team should be playing Arizona in softball. Our basketball team should be playing Arizona in basketball. But because football left, and they're saying, well, how do you do that? Well, Notre Dame's independent in football, and they're in a conference and everything else. I think we should all be independent in football. And you can have a 64-team conference that's in the Power 5, and you can have a 64-team conference in the Group of 5. And we separate it, and we play each other. You can have the West Coast teams, and then every year we play 7 games against the West Coast teams, and then we play the East. So we play Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt, West Virginia, Virginia. Then the next year you play against the South while you still play your 7 teams. You can play a 7-game schedule. You can play 4 against another conference, another division opponent, and you can always play against one Mountain West team every year so that we can still keep those rivalries going. Not that I've really thought about this. Not that I've a lot of spent of time on this. But I think if you went together collectively as a group and said there's 132 teams and we all share the same TV contract so that the Mountain West doesn't have one and the Sun Belt doesn't have another and SEC has one and they have another, that we all go together. That's a lot of games, and there's a lot of people in the TV world that would go through it. You can sponsor each one. Instead of calling it Group of 5 and Power 5, you can call it Amazon, Nike, bid that out to things. You do a lot of different things. But I think if we still do the same thing and take all that money, and I would do this, and I think this needs to be done, that money now needs to be shared with the student athletes, and there needs to be revenue sharing, and the players should get paid, and you can get rid of NLI, and the schools should be paying the players because the players are what the product is. And the fact that they don't get paid is really the biggest travesty. Not that I've thought about it.
Stugotz, this is interesting because of who's saying it, okay? I know he's fallen off the map. I know he's no longer visionary genius, but once upon a time, right next to Nike's founder, he made organ matter at football, and we were all like, why? Why would that matter? Well, Nike got into the college football business, and they hired this guy, visionary. He'll monitor your sleep. He'll do all sorts of smoothie nutrient testing. He's a savant. And then he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, chews him up, spits him out the side of the business, but he's still that competitive guy. And he's still the guy that the business chews up, but he's super smart. And he cares deeply about competing. And there he is, just laying it naked bare. Yeah, just turn it into the giant football business. It's what it already is. Stop hiding from it. Just let's play all each other. Let's all grab the TV money, and let's all be greedy. And I'll be Chip Kelly, revolutionary here, changing the business because I want to be ahead of the game. Like, that guy's not going to get tired and just retire fat and lazy. He's losing right now, Stugotz. Like, he's losing. He was at the top of the sport, the top of the mountain, and now he's sliding down the other end, and he's got to keep up in the money game. And what he's telling you is, let's just do this out in front of everybody. Let's just make it giant conference football, minor leagues, XFL, USFL will dominate forever. Just make me the CEO of this part of the business.
Amazon and Adidas, what a great idea. I mean,
first of all, Chip Kelly is a winner. He won the LA Bowl this weekend, presented by Gronk against Boise State. Big win with their backup quarterback after their other. Well, I guess they're all backups, right? Everyone's a backup. There's so many players in the portal. It's hard to keep track of with the bowl games. Anyways, I had Boise State. He brings up so many things in this 2-minute clip. First, he says that college football needs a commissioner. That's something that a lot of college football fans and media have been saying for a long time, especially during 2020, the COVID year, when every conference had their own plan for what to do. It was a absolute abject disaster and a humongous cluster. I don't ever foresee a situation in which all of the conferences agreed to elect a commissioner and that person would be like the Roger Goodell of college football and everyone would hate them. But it is kind of crazy that college football doesn't have an organizing body that monitors all the different conferences and has a sort of rules that all the conferences have to abide by. We saw this with Jim Harbaugh and his Big Ten punishment. If he had done that in the SEC this season, they might have a completely different punishment for him because all the conferences operate somewhat independently. The other thing he mentions is paying a revenue share to players, which I think a lot of people have been advocating for a while. I don't think that should be in lieu of NIL because I still think players should be able to earn money off of their name, image, and likeness. If they're famous, why wouldn't you be? But then you get into the problem of if players are legal employees of the universities, which is something that's been going on in the courts for a while. And right now there's some momentum for the NLRB to make a decision on it. But there was a lawsuit earlier this year that kind of ended in a bit of a standstill on the cause that was in California. So that doesn't seem like anything that's going to happen imminently. And then there's we should have a mega conference thing, and we should do all the two conferences and we play against each other. And he kind of lost me with that.
UCLA playing Pitt in West Virginia. I was like, where are we?
If you're on the West Coast, the whole point should be to keep things somewhat regionally standardized because it's putting a lot of stress on budgets and on players and on traveling that. I was like, okay, why don't I have an idea. We have 5 power conferences based on geography, and you play against the teams in your power conference. So you don't have to fly from LA to Rutgers on a Saturday. But I don't know. He brought up a lot of really good points, though, and I think it's important that college football coaches start to wade into these territories. The other thing is that there's now a lawsuit in Oregon over Title IX because there are female student athletes in Oregon that are claiming that they haven't been given the same NIL opportunities as their male counterparts. And now I think Title IX problems are going to be forefront in this discussion as well because college football gets so much roster spots, so many resources. And we already know that a lot of schools, in fact, most schools don't follow Title IX requirements. But I'm interested to see what happens with this lawsuit because it's fairly obvious that college football is such a big business. The universities are making so much money off of their rights. Like, this is going to be a big problem down the road.
And they're rewriting the rules as they go, and it's worth it. Like, you do understand, Stugotz, right? Whatever Jim Harbaugh was doing, cheating or not cheating,
right?
Worth it.
Yes, of course.
Totally worth it.
Yes. They'll vacate a championship from him in 5 years and no one will care.
Like, but I'm saying, once you strip all the morality out of it.
Jess, were you out of breath?
Yeah, that was.
I was drinking. I had like 3 espresso shots this morning.
Jessica,
you asked me to talk about college football.
you have never held the ball that long. That's the longest you have ever held the ball. You were dribbling 100,000 miles an hour
with no one to pass.
You were dribbling in circles, and we were all
clip.
looking at you. What happened? Is it the coffee?
He brought up so many things. I wanted to talk about everything. I wanted to talk about the LA Bowl presented by Gronk.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, did you at any point in there become self-conscious saying, I am dribbling 100 miles an hour and I've been talking for 2 straight minutes?
The second deep breath?
I'm more worried that coffee now makes me out of breath. That's not something that used to happen to me.
I thought it was a stamina thing, though. I thought it's because I thought what was happening there. You correct me if I'm wrong. I may have it wrong. I've never had this clear an angle at seeing you in the back row because it's usually hidden behind somebody. I believe what happened there is you could have done a full show on just what Chip Kelly said.
And I will on Gen CFB coming to your screens Thursday.
Well, this is Stugotz. I don't know what we're going to do about this because we've got 2 forms of journalism over here.
What happened to Foot Girls?
Well, what did happen to Foot
what
Girls?
happened to Foot Girls.
Mike Ryan is over here, and I want to pin you down on this, Mike. Tell me, the University of Miami, I was hoping they would get in the game for Tua's brother. So the University of Miami.
I mean, they were in the game for Tua's brother, Dan, but to answer your question, Tua is actively trying to find a year of eligibility that no one thinks is there, but he and his family feels pretty strongly they can find one.
Tua's brother, not Tua.
Yeah, to his brother. Right. Well, to his family, certainly.
I feel like Brock Purdy should come back. Like, someone should have eligibility that's not making that much money in the NFL and come back and play, right?
Or use it as leverage.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the NFL because NIL money is so much that I can make more money playing for college, and I'll go back to the NFL.
Brock Purdy's starting at Boise next year.
I can't wait for that day.
Well, let's, Mike, please, because some of these quarterbacks are making more than Brock Purdy.
A lot. Like I would say in college football last year, and somewhere between 5 and 10 starting college quarterbacks were making more than Brock Purdy.
All right, so give me, please, a reported range because this is a news and information segment because Jessica's got a lot of information, but you have to have better news than her. If I pin you down on what's it going to cost roughly for the University of Miami to get in the quarterback game here, with its best option, give me a wide range there of what that costs.
It was reported that Cam Ward this was put out by Cam Ward's reps, and a lot of reputable sites ran with it, that he was looking for something in the neighborhood of 2 to 2.5, which would have been outside of the Rashada thing that ended up.
It would have set the market, correct?
It would establish a new high when it came to that market, and I don't think that's exactly where the market's going to be for him. I think it'll fall in line between somewhere where FSU paid for their last quarterback and the number that he's asking for, and I think that's where it'll settle, and that's just not based off of any firsthand stuff, but just generally how these conversations and how the reporting has been done on Cam Ward. I think those schools are willing to do that.
Here's some news for you, Dan. Notre Dame got a wide receiver from FIU. Oh. Pause up.
Pause down.
What happened, Billy? Billy, how have you felt about the last 15
I hate
minutes?
it. I hate the portal, if that's what you're asking me, because my team loses all of their GD good players.
I think it's a grad transfer, though. So
you are a minor league.
He's good. He set this year the record for receiving yards in a season, and the quarterback play wasn't the best.
We need it so bad.
Be excited. Past T.Y. Hilton and some others, on the
Billy,
all-time list.
so FIU is the minor leagues for
How dare you?
the big business of football.
I don't like that.
I dared. You're not getting any players coming to FIU.
You shan't do that again.
They're going elsewhere.
Yeah.
How did you just feel, though, about Jessica dribbling the ball for 2 straight minutes, 100 miles an hour?
I was fine with it. Didn't bother me.
I learned from the best. I love you, Billy.
Me? Moi?
I don't know, Billy. I'm coming for your throne. Stugotz, I got derailed from what is supposed to be live coverage of all things NFL and Miami Dolphins.
By Chip Kelly.
Stugotz, well, the business is fascinating to me. What is happening in the business of giant football? Because Saturdays are rivaling Sundays now, Stugotz. So I am fascinated that they have to build the whole scaffolding to whatever the future looks like with the TV money and the crowdsourcing. Like, these salaries are going to go crazy because Texas isn't going to miss out on quarterbacks. Like, they're going to, if we're going to make this about money, then Texas A&M is going to spend oil money, so they've got a great little toy there that gets the recruits. And so if we're going to make it that brazen, there's not going to be a salary cap. You're now going to see tycoons. Why does Phil Knight get to own his own program? I want to own my own program.
Sure.
I'm going to buy a minor league college football team.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Again, the real benefit is the other colleges. We talked about FIU and losing a player to Notre Dame, but Syracuse got a player from Ohio State. Like, damn, schools like Texas and I guess, Florida State, Miami back in the day, they have options at quarterback. And so some of these quarterbacks get there and they realize, hey, I'm not going to play for 2 or 3 seasons. And I want to play and make money. So now I can go to Syracuse, make $1 million and throw for 4,000 yards.
And see if I can make that a program that matters.
Yes.
But yesterday, some things happened in football that I want to get to. But I'm in the rare position of the Dolphins are now a national story. Do you know how rare this is? Like, it's super rare for the Dolphins to be. You're watching yesterday. That was a lot of bad football. That is a historic first for me this season. Fell asleep during the 1 o'clock games. Dead asleep. Hasn't happened to me. My wife says, as tired as I am, that the only thing that keeps me awake is football.
Mm-hmm.
That otherwise, I'm just collapsing. 1 o'clock games, done. Couldn't do it. So many unders yesterday. Forgot that there was football Saturday. Not the only one that happened to, correct? Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Did you forget until it had started that the NFL was playing on Saturday? It's going to be real confusing this next week. It's Bills and Chargers, and it's just on Peacock, I think.
It is. You're right, Dan. It's just on Peacock.
A lot of
Yes.
people are just going to miss that game. Jessica, why are you shaking your head?
I mean, welcome to hell. This has been Notre Dame and Big Ten fans' fate for the last 2 seasons, putting games exclusively on Peacock, and then your grandma calls and says, I can turn Peacock on, and you're like, Grandma, I can't do this over the phone right now.
If you have a grandparent or a parent that is like Dan and Stugotz and they have Xfinity, tell them to just say the game into the remote, and it's built in.
You got to push a
Peacock
button
is
first.
Built in.
Really?
Yeah, Peacock is owned by
Which
Xfinity.
button?
So just say Notre Dame into your microphone in your remote, and you're good.
And it might not get it the first time, but that second time, it always works.
I had to find Pac-12 Network over the Thanksgiving holiday to watch the Notre Dame season finale against Stanford, and I had to download what's it called, Fubo, and get a Fubo Elite package for that night.
The free trial?
There's no shot in hell my parents would have been able to watch that game without me. There's just no shot.
There was a Pac-12 game, and it was the first time in about 12 years. And I bet on a lot of soccer in Azerbaijan. It was the first time I could not find a game that I was betting on, and it was in the Pac-12 because it was on Pac-12
All right,
Network.
I've told you guys this story before, okay? Late in my grandfather's life, okay, as he's trying to figure out the transition from remote controls to cell phones and wireless phones, I asked my grandfather to answer a phone for me, my cell phone, while I was in another room, and I came in and he was trying to answer the remote control. Mm-hmm. You guys have just said to me, I have now just envisioned myself as my grandfather talking into a microphone, Notre Dame! Talking into a microphone. Notre Dame is what I'm looking for. And now it's going to be Bills Chargers. It's going to be on Saturday, Bills Chargers.
Were you aware that your remote control has a microphone?
I do, yes.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Well,
You're ahead of me.
One of the great things around here on Tuesdays is seeing Greg Cody talk into his phone to dictate his texts. He does not like typing his texts. He has learned how to do this. I've learned some very simple things, but Mike.
I hate that. My phone's racist. Doesn't understand my accent. Don't think it's that thick. Everything that I say, it jumbles. I'm telling you right now, racist phone.
Biased? You believe the microphones
Racist.
are made
No,
by
Dan. No,
made by
Dan,
white people?
You try to take us down this path every
You've
day.
never made this
I'm taking you
accusation
down the
before.
path today.
I can't believe
my
this.
phone is racist.
I'm shocked by what's happening right now.
My
you
phone's
always
racist.
avoid this. You're
Yeah.
this. You're this guy. You're worse.
Well, no,
You've
I-
never had an opinion on race in 20 years of us doing this
falsehoods,
show.
Falsehoods. I just, I'm not going to say this Christmas present is racist. Not everything's racist. My
You've
phone
never,
is.
You've never said anything is racist.
My phone is.
You have never
I said it right
echoed-
now on record.
I can't
Unless
believe
it's,
this.
something that's going to come back legally and hurt this company, then I would never.
Well, you already did it, so now we're here.
Well.
This is why you try to avoid it, because you don't want into these waters. Tell me more. You've got too much of an accent for it?
Apparently, it doesn't understand a GD thing I say, and I don't get it. I feel like I speak very clearly.
Is that the end of your accusation?
I'm trying to figure it out. You explain it to me. What could be? Do I enunciate poorly? Poorly?
I don't think you have an accent. I don't know what you're
I don't
talking.
either, but when I interned up in Washington for a summer, they told me that I had an accent. First I heard of it. Yeah.
Because you have a Miami accent, a Cuban accent?
Apparently Miami accent. I don't know.
Jessica, do you hear this?
No, but I did read recently that there's a new recognized dialect of people in Miami have their own specific way of speaking now.
Billy,
that is
I
not
thi-
anywhere else. Nowhere else is like it.
Billy, I think you've got a lane here to get aggregated by all of these political weaponization
I don't want
sites.
that.
No, you need this.
Nah, I don't want it.
No.
Can you say
what do you
literally?
mean?
Can you say the word literally?
Literally. But I have
Yeah.
to say the word
It's been-
literally when it's not literally.
Yeah.
Producer
You know what I
for
mean?
Le Batard Show claims
an
his
accent.
phone
Know
is
exactly what you mean.
racist. That's a good
It'll just be
headline.
Le Batard says.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Dan
want
Le
that?
Batard, iPhones are racist.
Just figure out how to do it so that you can now get rewarded for your first ever in 20 years race take.
One of the little fun
reward?
one of the little fun things I like to do is if I'm watching English soccer is I say it in the accent Luton, and it actually figures it out. Like, what if I were an Englishman vacationing at a place where they have Xfinity? What's going to happen to that chap? So I just make sure that they can understand someone going Luton, Crowley Town, and it just shows up on the TV. It's amazing. Barcelona shows up.
I will say this, Xfinity, when I had Xfinity, their remote was very good at recognizing any accent. And so much so that like that, I would kind of change the way I would say things just to see how ridiculous I could get with some of the things that I would say and see that it would like recognize it. But not even like, I wouldn't even give myself like an accent. I would just speak like very demonic and see if it would be like, peacock! And then see if it would take me to peacock. Yeah, it always did.
You guys sound very lonely. You're not serious.
No, it's a
people.
fun game. You should try
the
it.
two of you playing with your you're playing with your
I'm about to wash dishes with
playing
someone
with
else.
your
over there.
remote
Sometimes I like to confuse them.
Is that what we call it these days?
Auburn, Alabama. And it's still like, oh, okay.
SEC.
Try to throw it off.
Yeah.
It's like an imaginary friend. You guys.
I want to watch Arsenal.
You guys
Put
are-
on Arsenal.
What are you
Arsenal.
teaching your kids? You guys are adults. You have children walking around watching Dad yell in accents at his Apple controller.
I mean, sometimes I do the Ed Orgeron voice just to make sure that when Ed wants to talk into his remote, that it'll understand what he's saying.
All right.
Very nice of you.
Varying
Do you not do
results.
these things? Dan, you're a costume guy. You don't ever do fake voices?
The Food Network.
No, but one of the funniest things that Valerie does enjoy is when I talk into the remote control to get a movie to come up because I don't feel like typing it and it takes me to the wrong place. It takes me to something else.
I don't like when that happens.
I mean, it happens all the time to me, and I don't think it's because I have an accent. I also don't think it's because I'm doing it wrong.
Holiday Bake Off on the Food Network.
Great show.
Halloween Bake Off. Big Duff fan. Season 7.
Jess, you're gonna love Stupidity this week. We talked
You
to
had
the
Guy
host.
Fieri?
No,
Oh.
we talked to the host of the Christmas Cookie Challenge.
Wait, who's the host of the Christmas Cookie Challenge?
Eddie Jackson.
Oh.
Yes.
He's hosting it this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I have so much to catch up on. I have one episode left of the Great British Bake Off. Great British Bake Off.
The Gilded Age.
Does your watch ever just start listening to you and like try to do? It happened to me twice last week on air, where Siri on my watch just started going to search for things. I said something about ketchup, and then Siri was telling me the history of ketchup. Look, right now, Siri's listening to me and is going to tell me about ketchup.
Yeah, you need to turn that feature off.
I don't know how to. I don't
It
know how.
thinks that you must have said Siri because then Siri turns on when you say Siri.
Okay. Now Siri's listening and doesn't want to talk. I'm
And this
holding
is
my
why
mic.
it's so hard to explain to older people to get how to get Peacock on their TVs, Dan.
Young Sheldon.
The other thing that is happening to me, and clearly this is also happening to others, and it's not just because I'm your grandfather shouting into my remote.
Law and Order, organized. No. I wasn't. Law and Order, organized crime. Now you're just doing Law and Order. I said Law and Order, organized crime.
The speaker in the bathroom is listening to me. It talks sometimes by itself when I'm in another room. And
What speaker lives in the bathroom?
the speaker that I have in my bathroom.
Why do you have a speaker in your bathroom?
For music.
Smells in here.
For music.
90 Day Fiance, happily ever after.
This happens to the rest of you, correct?
I don't have a speaker in my bathroom.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I have a speaker in my bathroom.
You guys don't have any devices that are talking to you?
I have a Sonos speaker in my bathroom if I ever want to sing out loud while I'm showering.
I go to my
do the
bathroom
cool jerk.
to hear nothing.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
for silence.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Like, what are you doing? What did you just do? Why did you do that? You should be ashamed of yourself.
You could be talking to 3 different people at this point.
Stugotz.
Yes. Dolphins, relevant.
He's right. The Dolphins are relevant.
National story last time was Richie Incognita.
I am going to save it. I'm going to save it for
La
the
Brea.
for the rest.
Saving your thoughts?
I'm going to save my. I'm going to embargo my football thoughts. But I do want to ask you, like, what am I to do with the following? Like, we analyzed the hell out of this sport.
2 broke girls.
Good show.
The Dolphins
Love
tried.
the dark-haired one.
How did they afford the place
Sassy.
where they lived?
Why is there a horse?
The Dolphins tried to replace their running back all offseason.
Did they ever mention the horse?
And Raheem Mostert has more touchdowns than anyone in franchise history.
NCIS. I'm not done yet. Hawaii.
And as many touchdowns as Christian McCaffrey. They tried to replace him all offseason. Are we really at the place where the coaches matter so much that the disposable position can produce more touchdowns? The most disposable position can produce the most touchdowns because your coach is better at offense than everyone
911.
else.
I'm okay. I just want the show. 911.
That's the future of professional football, and college football was won by that swamp monster, Ed Orgeron.
Abbott Elementary.